Good evening, and welcome back to this church called Christ for the second act of our wonderful drama. Just wanted to let you know there will be an ARC building committee meeting immediately following the service tonight, so if you're up for that, you just come on out and bring some hammers and it'll all be good. I want to thank once again everybody who's participating in this service tonight, all those who are a part of the drama, the folks in the tech booth, and once again, especially Carol Alex, our fearless drama team leader who has made this all possible tonight, and we thank you for coming out on this what was supposed to be a warm, sunshiny day, right? That's what they told me. They got that one right. And it's good to see you all here, and let's pray. For your love and grace, O God, we give you thanks, and for the special reminders in this holy season of how great your love for us is, we are grateful. As we continue to watch the drama unfold tonight, may your Spirit touch our hearts and our souls and help us be open and ready for the joyous message of new life in Easter. Be with us tonight, and we thank you for all those who participate. In Jesus' name, amen.
All rise.
Please be seated. Let us proceed with the next witness.
Next witness, come forward.
The defense calls Joseph of Arimathea.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Joseph from the town of Arimathea.
You may proceed.
Joseph of Arimathea, how long have you been a member of the Sanhedrin?
For many years, really too many to recall.
Is there anything on the record, to the best of your knowledge, that indicates that you've been anything other than an honorable and respected member of the Sanhedrin?
No, sir.
But aren't you the person that asked Pilate for the custody of Jesus' body after the crucifixion?
Yes, that's so.
Why did you do that?
I respected him as a teacher and as a prophet. I thought he deserved an honorable burial, and his followers didn't have the means to provide one. You see, it's Jewish custom that the burial must take place before sunset. My tomb was close enough to Calvary to allow for this.
But as a member of the Sanhedrin, you're a member of the very court that condemned Jesus to death.
I am, but I didn't agree with the decision of the Sanhedrin.
And why not?
Because I didn't consider it to be a fair trial for many reasons. For instance, it was illegal for the temple guard, acting officially on behalf of the high priest, to make the arrest. That, according to Jewish law, should have been the responsibility of the witnesses. Also, it's illegal to try a case involving the death penalty at night.
I see. And was there anything that occurred during the course of the trial itself that gave you concern?
Yes, after the testimony of the witnesses broke down, it was illegal for the priest to cross-examine the prisoner. Jesus was made to incriminate himself.
But in the end, he was convicted of blasphemy. As a Jew, does that mean nothing to you?
To me, it wasn't blasphemy. I happen to believe that he is who he claimed to be, the Messiah, the Christ, the Savior of Israel.
So, a member of the Sanhedrin believed that Jesus was God. Wouldn't your colleagues find this somewhat strange?
I never really made my suspicions known, my feelings known.
Do you think that the body would have been given into your custody if this fact had been known?
I don't really see what difference it makes. My only concern that evening was to give a lawful burial to a man who'd been unlawfully convicted.
But there were two other men crucified that day. Were they not equally concerned about their legal rights?
They were lawfully convicted and they were guilty. Their bodies were thrown into a common grave.
When you asked Pilate for the body, what was his reaction? Was he surprised that the request came from a member of the court that convicted him?
He seemed more relieved than anything. I think he saw it as a way to be done with the whole affair. It really had become quite an embarrassment to him.
Was permission given immediately?
No, I had to wait while he first summoned the centurion who commanded the guard at the cross. Pilate asked him whether Jesus was in fact dead. Only when he'd been assured of this would he let them take the body away.
And what did you do with it?
Well, it was almost dark, so we took the body straight to the tomb. We had just enough time to bind it and treat it with spices. Then we rolled a huge stone in front of the entrance and left.
Who is we?
I was assisted by my friend Nicodemus.
Another member of the Sanhedrin?
Yes, sir.
Really? And was there anyone else there?
2 followers of Jesus came behind us, both women. I assume that they were making sure that the proper care was taken of the body.
Did you know them?
Not really. I'd seen them with Jesus when I'd listened to him teach, but other than that.
And did they help you in any way?
No, they just watched. I think they were rather shocked that 2 members of the Sanhedrin were tending to the body.
And after you had sealed the tomb with the stone, what did you do?
We left. We had to get home quickly. The Sabbath was about to begin.
And so, according to the testimony of 2 long-standing members of the Sanhedrin, the highest Jewish court in the land, the body was left lying safely in the tomb, sealed with a large rock.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you, Joseph. You're a witness.
So, Joseph, this is rather a surprise. We learn that you, a member of the Sanhedrin, the court that sentenced Jesus to death, actually a secret follower of his.
I believe he's the Messiah, yes.
If that's so, why didn't you defend him at trial?
I did what I could, but the high priest was determined to find him guilty. He really would allow no other verdict.
Isn't that what the defendant really wanted all the time? To be found guilty?
He did seem to realize it was somehow inevitable, yes.
So that he could stage his whole resurrection stunt.
If you call resurrection a stunt,
What do you call it?
I call it a miracle.
Yes, more magic. You asked Pilate if you could bury the body in your own tomb. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Did you consult with other members of the Sanhedrin before you did this?
Why? I didn't see any reason to. They had achieved what they set out to do. The man was dead. The threat was gone.
So the body was handed over to you and you placed it in the tomb.
That is correct.
Are you sure?
Of course I am.
You have just testified to the court that Pilate summoned the centurion at the cross to make sure that Jesus was dead. This was all before handing the body over to you.
That is correct.
Have you ever witnessed a crucifixion prior to this one?
Unfortunately, I have.
It's a long, slow death, isn't it?
It's terribly long.
Please, tell us what it is that soldiers do to the crucified in order to hasten the process, to expedite the death.
They break their legs.
What about Jesus? Did they do this to him?
No, he was already dead.
See, I'm not so sure about that. Wasn't the body, in fact, still alive when the centurion handed it over to you? Where did you take him, Joseph? Where did he hide until the staging of this miraculous resurrection?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. You may continue with the questions.
He was executed by the Roman guard, experienced soldiers who do not make mistakes about killing people. Besides, what you suggest is absurd. Why would a Roman soldier risk his career, risk his life, over a Jew he didn't even know?
Maybe he was another secret follower just like you. I have no further questions.
You may step down, Joseph. Next witness to the stand, please.
The defense calls Mary Magdalene.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Mary Magdalene.
Proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Mary, you were present at Calvary on the day of the crucifixion, were you not?
I was, yes.
And you were present when the body was taken down from the cross.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened next?
Well, a man named Joseph of Arimathea had applied to Pilate for custody of the body. He and another man from the Sanhedrin took the body and took it from the Roman soldiers and carried it to Joseph's tomb. It wasn't very far away. They laid it in the tomb and then they sealed it with a large rock.
Did you know these men had planned to do this?
No. We expected that his body would be thrown into a common grave along with the two criminals who were executed with him. We had so little money. We couldn't afford to bury him properly.
So what was your reaction to them?
Well, we were thankful but rather surprised
Why were you surprised?
because both men were members of the Sanhedrin, that same court that sentenced Jesus to death. We had seen them sometimes listening to Jesus teach, but they had never declared themselves openly as followers of his. They were taking a great risk.
Why did you follow the men to the tomb?
It was our responsibility to prepare the body for burial. The men had had some spices with him, but we would have to return later to finish the preparations. We needed to know where the body had been laid.
Why didn't you prepare the body at that time?
Well, the Sabbath was to begin at sunset. We didn't have time.
So the men placed the body in the tomb and sealed it with a rock and returned home.
Yes.
What happened the next day?
Nothing. It was the Sabbath, our day of rest. Our first opportunity to visit the tomb was at dawn the following day.
Why so early?
We didn't want to waste a moment. It was all we could think of.
Weren't you concerned about the guard?
We didn't know that a guard had been set. They weren't there when we left the body.
And how did you plan to move such a large stone?
We were hoping to find someone to help us. We were prepared to wait if necessary, but the matter was resolved for us. As we approached, there was an earthquake, and when we had recovered from our fear, we saw that the tomb was no longer sealed. The stone had been moved. The body was gone.
And what was your reaction?
We were scared and confused. We had expected to find the body in the tomb. It wasn't there.
What did you do?
Well, I ran back to the city to tell the others, but no one believed my story. Then Peter and John, they came to see for themselves. They saw and they believed. And then they went to tell the others that it was true.
Leaving you alone at the empty tomb.
Well, yes, until a man appeared.
And who was that?
Well, at first I thought he was the gardener. He asked me, "Why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" And I said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, please just tell me where you've laid him."
How did you respond to that?
He just said my name, Mary.
The gardener knew your name.
It wasn't the gardener at all. It was only when I heard him speak my name that I realized it was Jesus.
But Jesus was dead. His body had been laid in the tomb.
That's right. He was dead, but he was raised to life again.
That's commonly thought to be impossible.
Of course, all miracles are commonly thought to be impossible,
Even a resurrection?
especially a resurrection. But nothing is impossible for God.
Thank you, Mary. You've described it all very vividly. You're a witness.
Mary, how long did you know Jesus before he died?
Almost 3 years.
During that time, how would you describe your relationship with Jesus?
Well, we were friends, close friends. He was different from any other man I'd ever known.
And how was he different?
It's hard to explain.
Please, try.
Well, he always invited me to join in the conversations he had with his friends and his disciples.
And that's unusual?
Of course, women were never involved in discussions about the scriptures. We were expected to be back in the kitchen, not out with the men. It wasn't customary.
So he made you feel, important then?
He made me feel as if my opinion mattered.
So would you say you loved him?
Yes.
Are you married?
Objection, Your Honor. Marital status has no standing in this case.
You may continue, counsel.
No, I am not married.
Is there anything else about your relationship with Jesus that wasn't, shall we say, customary?
Objection, Your Honor.
That will be enough, counselor.
You went through a great deal of anguish in the period of time we're examining, right?
It was a very trying time.
An understatement, I'm sure. Jesus was arrested on Thursday night. When did you hear of the arrest?
Early the next morning.
And so I'm sure you hurried into the city. I mean, you'd want to be as close to the scene as possible, right?
Well, yes, of course.
And you endured the long hours of waiting, and then you had to watch while his life was bartered for a criminal named Barabbas.
Yes.
And then you watched while he was flogged, and while he was forced to carry his own cross, staggering under the weight while people cursed him and spat on him as he stumbled by. And you watched as nails were driven into his hands and feet. He hung there in dreadful agony until he finally died. And then you had to wait for more than a day before you could do anything. You had just time, so much time to think about him. Isn't that right? I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Yes!
Objection!
Sustained. Counsel, please moderate your questioning.
You were overcome with grief, on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and then, in the half-light of dawn, when shadows, they can play tricks on the eyes, you walked to a rendezvous with the man you loved. You'd only been there once before. You weren't too sure of the way. How could you be certain that it was the same tomb? I mean, you found the stone had been moved, the body gone. You turned. You saw a figure. I don't know who it was. Perhaps it was a gardener. Perhaps it was someone come to mourn at a different tomb. But in your state of mind, he is the one you came to find. He is the Messiah. He is risen. A gardener becomes Jesus. Isn't that what really happened?
Objection!
No, it was him. I know it was. He spoke to me. He's alive. I know he's alive.
Counsel, I won't warn you again.
I think it's clear that the evidence of this witness is completely worthless. She was so emotionally involved that her state of mind is not rational. Any hallucinations she experienced while in this condition, they can't be taken seriously in a court of law, okay? I won't waste this court's time with any more of this.
Your Honor, I'd like to re-examine if I may.
You may.
Thank you. Mary, when you followed Joseph and Nicodemus to the tomb on Friday evening, was it dark?
No, the reason that everything was so rushed was because we had to be home before sunset when the Sabbath began.
And was anyone with you besides Joseph and Nicodemus?
Mary, the mother of James, came with me.
And was she also with you on Sunday morning when you returned to the tomb?
Yes.
So, both of you, having been there the night before in the light of day, were certain that you were at the correct tomb.
Yes.
Now, when you arrived at the tomb and found the body gone, did you immediately consider the possibility of a resurrection?
No, nothing was further from my mind.
The person you met in the garden on Sunday morning, you're absolutely sure he was not a gardener, some other person there on innocent business.
It was Jesus.
Has the Sanhedrin ever been able to produce a gardener, or any other person for that matter, to testify that they were in fact the person that you met on that morning?
Never.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
You may step down now. Next witness, please.
Prosecution calls Captain of the Guard.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name for the court.
I am Captain Joel Ben David.
Counsel, please proceed.
Captain, I believe you hold your rank in the Temple Guard.
That is correct, sir.
And what exactly is the function of the Temple Guard?
To enforce the Jewish laws as determined by the high priest, Lord Caiaphas. It is what you might call an internal Jewish police force.
As opposed to the Roman Guard.
The Roman Guard is the official army of the state, enforcing the laws of Caesar himself. It is controlled by the governor, Pontius Pilate.
Thank you for being so precise. Now, will you tell us the events that occurred on the day after the crucifixion of Jesus? I believe you received some special instructions from the high priest.
Yes, sir. We were to guard a tomb.
Any particular tomb?
The tomb in which Jesus had been laid.
But Jesus was crucified by Romans under Roman law. Was the body not the responsibility of the Roman Guard?
As far as Pilate was concerned, the responsibility of Rome was over when the man was dead. He told the chief priests and Pharisees, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go, make it as secure as you can."
I see. And by the time you arrived at the tomb, Captain, how many consecutive hours of duty you and your men served?
I'm not sure, sir.
But you were on duty Thursday night when the prisoner was taken,
Yes, sir.
and on Friday at the trial,
That's correct.
and during the crucifixion.
Yes, sir.
Not much time for sleep, was there, Captain?
No, sir.
So no one could blame you for feeling drowsy, especially since guarding a dead man wouldn't appear to be a particularly dangerous assignment.
I suppose not.
Rather monotonous, I would think.
Yes, sir, it was.
So, can you tell us what happened, Captain?
We fell asleep, sir.
You fell asleep. For how long?
I'm not sure. We were awakened by an earthquake just around dawn, and we saw that while we'd been asleep, the tomb had been opened and the body stolen.
And do you have any idea who was responsible?
We didn't actually see anyone, but it must have been his disciples. They are the only people who would have wanted it.
When you realized what had happened, what did you do?
We reported the matter directly to Caiaphas.
You told him you'd fallen asleep on duty.
Yes, sir. He would have found out sooner or later.
And what did he do?
Well, he ordered a search for the body.
Thank you, Captain. your witness.
Captain, was the task of guarding a tomb a very common assignment?
No, sir, I had never been ordered to do that before.
And to the best of your knowledge, had a similar assignment ever been given to the temple guard?
No, sir.
So it was a very unusual assignment, but apparently one of great importance to the high priest. Of such importance that he even tried to get Pilate to put a Roman guard at the tomb.
Yes, sir.
Of such importance that he actually stated that if the body was stolen, the last fraud would be worse than the first.
Yes, sir.
And we all know the importance he placed on the first.
Yes, sir. The first fraud was Jesus claiming to be the Messiah,
And the last?
this resurrection.
So he would hardly have chosen a group of incompetent soldiers to carry out such an important assignment, would he, Captain?
No, sir.
Are you incompetent, Captain?
No, sir.
Have you served in the temple guard for many years
Yes, yes, sir.
and risen through the ranks?
I have,
Are you capable of guarding a tomb, Captain?
of course.
But if we believe you, Captain, you and all of your command fell asleep on duty and allowed Jesus' body to be stolen by the disciples.
Yes, sir.
How can you explain how an experienced group of soldiers under the command of a veteran captain, chosen for an assignment of particular importance by the high priest, failed so badly in their duty?
No, sir.
Not very likely, really, is it, Captain?
I suppose not.
Captain, the temple records show that you and your men each received a substantial sum of money immediately after making your report to Caiaphas. Is that so? May I remind you, Captain, you're under oath. The records show that you received a payment from Caiaphas. Is that true?
Answer the question, please, Captain.
Yes, sir.
May I ask what you did to earn this reward?
Caiaphas said that it was in view of the unusual stress caused by our assignment.
You mean that you were actually rewarded for falling asleep on duty? Isn't that rather unusual? Wouldn't you rather expect to be disciplined?
I suppose so.
I think that in light of this information, we should go over the exact events of that night once again. Now, what was the first thing you did when you arrived at the tomb?
We made sure that the stone guarding the entrance was secure, and then we sealed it.
There was no indication that the stone had been disturbed in any way before you arrived.
None.
Nothing suspicious, nothing to arouse you at all.
No.
What did you do next?
Well, we then arranged the guard into shifts so the tomb would be watched both day and night.
And then?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing happened.
No band of marauding grave robbers?
No.
No furtive disciples of Jesus trying to steal the body?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Well, until the earthquake.
Ah, yes. The earthquake. Tell us what happened.
Well, it was almost dawn. 2 women had just entered the garden, and we were about to challenge them when the ground shook, and the stone was rolled away from in front of the tomb. We could see it was empty.
No human agency involved?
Well, we did see someone or something, but we didn't know what it was.
Describe it to us.
I can't. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before.
What did it do?
It spoke to the women, and then it pointed to the empty tomb.
Did you challenge it?
We couldn't. We seemed to have no power over ourselves. We were like dead men before it.
For how long were you in this condition?
I don't know. As soon as I could act, I ran to the city to report what had happened.
Leaving the tomb unguarded.
No. I left a detachment to guard the tomb, especially since now it was open.
And you reported to,
Caiaphas.
of course. And what was the reaction of the high priest? Remember,
You're still under oath, Captain?
But he said the story, it had to be denied. That the disciples had stolen the body and that it must be found. He said it was far more likely that we had fallen asleep at our posts, allowing the disciples to open the tomb.
and you were persuaded to spread the story that the disciples had stolen the body.
Yes, sir, it was my duty.
I suppose it was your duty, too, to take the money that Caiaphas had offered.
Objection, Your Honor.
No further questions.
You may step down now, Captain. Is there another witness, bailiff? One more, Your Honor. Okay. Proceed.
Prosecution calls Simon Peter to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the court.
I'm Simon Peter.
Please proceed.
Peter, how long did you know that Jesus of Nazareth was here?
For 3 years. I met him at the beginning of his ministry. My brother and I were his first disciples.
And how did you make the decision to be his disciple? Did you examine his teachings? Did you consult with your rabbi?
I heard him speak, and I spoke with him, and then one day we were working beside the lake, and he came and said, "Follow me."
And then?
Well, we followed him.
Just like that.
Yes, we left our work immediately and followed him.
Because you thought he was the Messiah.
Well, not at that time.
But you believe it now.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What was your occupation before you became a disciple?
I was a fisherman,
Did you have any formal education?
a little,
Did you have any knowledge of the laws or the prophets?
some.
Then you were aware of the prophecies regarding the coming of the Messiah.
Well, yes, of course.
And who told you that Jesus fulfilled these prophecies?
Well, he did.
What refreshing honesty. I almost think that if I told you I was the Messiah, you might believe me.
No.
Why not? You had little more knowledge of him than you do of me.
Because you don't teach what he taught. You can't do what he did.
And what did he do?
Miracles.
Ah, yes, the magician again. There have been others before him who have performed acts of healing, would you agree?
Yes.
But none of them turned out to be the Messiah, did they?
No.
Of course not. And his teachings, what did he teach?
He taught of mercy and of love.
Late on Thursday night in the Garden of Gethsemane, when the soldiers came to arrest him, what did you do?
I tried to defend him.
How?
I drew my sword and I cut off the ear of one of the guards.
Mercy and love.
And that wasn't his fault. It was mine.
And after he was arrested,
I followed the guards and waited outside the courtyard while the trial was taking place. I didn't want to leave him alone.
really? And yet, as you waited in the courtyard, warming yourself by the fire, some people spoke to you. Do you remember the incident? Answer the question, please.
Yes, I remember.
One person said, you were with the Galilean. What did you reply?
I told her, I don't know who you're talking about.
And another man said, "This man was with Jesus of Galilee."
And I said, I don't know the man.
Still another, "Surely you're one of them. Your accent gives you away."
I tell you, I don't know the man.
Is this the faith that the Messiah inspires in his followers? Is this the truth that he teaches?
I was scared.
And you are the man who emerged as the leader of the disciples after the death of Jesus. He had a nickname for you, didn't he, Peter?
He called me the Rock
Why the rock?
because he said that on me he would build his church.
Or was it because he knew that you would be the one to move the rock, the one who would steal his body from the tomb?
No,
I have no further questions. Your witness.
Peter, what was Jesus like as a person?
he was like no other man I've ever met.
Was he a good man?
Good isn't the right word. There aren't any words.
And what made you think he was God?
You've never seen a miracle happen, have you? Not just heard about it, but actually seen it with your own eyes?
No, I haven't.
I have, a lot of times. Blind people, deaf people, cripples, lepers. Just a touch and a word, and they were healed. When you've seen a man do that, you have to believe he's God.
When they arrested him, were you scared?
Terrified. I thought they would arrest me too. I was afraid they'd kill me.
Did the rest of the disciples feel the same way?
We all fled. We panicked
Where did you go?
into hiding. I'm really not proud of it.
But according to the high priest, just a few hours earlier, you led a group of disciples in a daring raid on the tomb and snatched the body away from under the nose of the temple guard.
I wish I'd been brave enough to even consider such a thing.
Doesn't sound like the same group of people to me. How long were you in hiding?
Well, we didn't move out of our room until Sunday morning. That's when the women came in to tell us that the body was gone.
You had let them walk unescorted through the streets of Jerusalem while it was still dark.
Well, we were afraid the soldiers would be searching for us.
And yet suddenly, in a matter of a few weeks, you stood in the temple steps in blatant defiance of the high priest, preaching boldly to thousands. What happened, Peter? What changed you?
He kept his promise. He rose from the dead.
But we've heard from the religious authorities in this courtroom that Jesus could not be the Messiah because of the fact that he died.
They spend half their time arguing about the prophecies of the Messiah, but he made it all clear. The Messiah is the conqueror of death.
But if that's so, how could he die?
If he didn't die, how could he defeat death? I mean, he looked death straight in the eye, and he came through to life again.
You've suffered greatly for your belief, haven't you?
Well, we all have,
All of you have been imprisoned, tortured,
yes.
and under torture, none ever confessed that it was a lie.
No.
What makes you so absolutely sure that he rose from the dead?
Well, we saw him. We talked to him. He came to us in the room where we were hiding.
Objection.
Overruled. You may continue.
He passed right through the door. We couldn't believe it either until he showed us his hands and his feet. Ask Thomas, he'll tell you. He appeared to other people around the city as well. and on the road to Emmaus.
Objection. Your Honor. First, we're asked to believe that the person rose from the dead, and now that he came back to earth as a man. It's preposterous.
That will be for the jury to decide.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Are there any more witnesses for the defense then?
No, Your Honor.
No? For the prosecution?
None.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this concludes the evidence to be presented in this trial. I charge you to thoughtfully and carefully reflect on all that has been heard in this courtroom. The testimonies of the blind man, Simon ben Isaac, Caiaphas, the high priest, the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, Joseph of Arimathea, Mary Magdalene, the captain of the temple guard, and the disciple, Simon Peter. Having heard the opinions and impressions about Jesus, I charge you to consider your own. Was Jesus the Messiah? You are the jury. You decide. The court is adjourned.
All rise. Please be seated.